Hey everyone, welcome back to your week ahead astrology breakdown. I'm Matthew Oliver from Stillwater Alchemy, and little secret, this is the third time I have recorded this video. The first two times the sound was really off and it sounded really staticky and kind of like nebulous, so I think I fixed it. But hello, Mercury retrograde. Hello, lunar eclipse. We see you. And if you're feeling a certain type of way, of course, that full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio was full exact at approximately 12:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, May 16th. So I'm sure many of you are currently having very vivid dreams, or you just had very vivid dreams as I'm recording this. And take it slow, take it easy as we come into this week. You may have been feeling all these energies increasing and climaxing up to this lunation, or will be feeling it Monday, Tuesday of this week. The good news is we have some really good transits that are happening right at the start of the week to support us in breakthrough moments or shifting our energetic state for the better, which we shall get to soon. But this eclipse season was very timely. A lot was coming through for many different people. And of course, if you have prominent Scorpio or fixed energy in your chart, just know that you're not alone. I've been receiving many DMs, various messages from clients or acquaintances. Everyone's going through it. Take as much time as you need, okay? And if you would like an additional resource, our full moon lunar eclipse workshop is available in the description of this bio. The meditation at the end is really nice for letting things go, and some additional messages from our higher self come through at the end as well, okay? So let's hop in, shall we? So we are going to be starting the week off on Monday, May 16th. So let me just pull this up here. Boom. So as I said, we start off with a really nice moon Jupiter trine. So the moon is in Sagittarius. Even just that alone is such a complete 180 from the moon being in Scorpio, a bit more in depth, wanting to feel that emotional, visceral energy, to where the moon in Sagittarius, she's supposed to have a good time. She's lighthearted, she's fun, she's feisty, buoyant, happy. With now making a trine to Jupiter in Aries, it may feel like an emotional breakthrough, like you got through to the other side, like things are becoming a lot more clear, quite literally a sun after a day of rain, where it just feels like you can breathe again, or there's a viable option, or there's a very clear path on what you need to do. So if that's coming through for you, enjoy it. And this could be just a time where you want to explore more options, more beliefs, different opportunities, right? These both have an expansive quality, both Sagittarius energy and Jupiter. And Jupiter is a ruling planet of Sagittarius, right? So there is a little bit of mutual reception here going on. So allow yourself to dream big, to go for it, to see what is coming through. I really want you to pay attention to this. And I really want you to pay attention kind of all week, to be honest, of not taking on external energy that isn't serving you. And this can mean social media. This can mean family members. This can mean certain relationships. I would highly recommend putting your phone on do not disturb and getting back to people when it is beneficial for you. There's a lot of integration taking place. It's like if you ever have been through a really intense emotional breakthrough or a really intense dream and you wake up and you want to remember everything, it's not the time to roll over and go on your phone and just forget all the lessons you had learned and everything that you had been through and everything that you've accomplished in this time. Allowing yourself to go for it, allowing yourself to be happy as well. I really highly recommend partaking in certain things that are just going to support joy, whether that is a podcast, TV show, movie, music, food, dance, singing, being around certain people. This is another energy where it gets to be abundance breeds abundance. Being in a state of joy will just expand that even more, because when you move on to Tuesday, we have the moon making that trine to Venus. We've talked about Venus in Aries, of prioritizing yourself before we worry about the other person in the relationship. And this can also mean where you're now attracting types of people that are on your level, whether that be energetic, whether that be financial, whether that be in career, lovers, all the things that we like. This can also be as well just people that are in the state of divine feminine that like doing the same things that you like to do, and that you don't have to feel guilty about liking that certain activity or partaking in that field of entertainment, whatever it is, right? And I talked about this already, but be careful of external energy and projections, because now Mars is conjunct Neptune at 24 degrees. And so the moon is also making that applied square to Mars and Neptune. So it's just something to be really careful about. We don't want to leave a good time because we feel like we have to, or because other people are trying to get a hold of us. Naturally, when you are happy and in a high energy state, other people can sense that, especially if you're posting on social media that you're living your best life. Maybe we don't need to be posting all the time that we're living our best life, and we can just be present in the moment and not need to record it, especially this week. Just have the fun. If you have the time and space to support other people and you feel called to, that's completely different. But just be very careful of the projections of others, of the state of the news, of social media, of delusions, of illusion, of projections, of people's energy getting in the way of you celebrating yourself, of you honoring all the hard work that you've done, and you just having a good effing time. Okay? Beautiful. When we move on to Wednesday, we have the moon in Capricorn making that square to Jupiter. So this can manifest in a couple different ways. One, it can mean that you have now dreamed really big. You know exactly what you want to do. And sometimes that perfectionist mind or that pragmatic mindset can get in your way. It's like, how are you actually going to do this? How are you going to afford this? You really think you're good enough? All these undercuts from all the joy and happiness that we just experienced. On the flip side, it can also mean that you're going to put in better structures and boundaries and really implement your time in a benefic way to support these expanded dreams, these new financial goals, these new downloads that have come through. So it doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it can also just mean that we have to be careful of self-sabotaging or even allowing other people's projections. Let's say you're really excited, you want to share all these big dreams with people, and then they're the ones placing these limiting thoughts or beliefs, and then that causes us to feel a certain type of way emotionally, which then negates all of the expansion, everything that we're trying to build for ourselves. Okay. And this is quite honestly the balance of instant gratification versus long-term dedication or structure or planning. And they can go hand in hand, where we can have all the instant gratifications because we've done the proper work, invested in the proper people and places to make this come true. And I think that's really going to be very evident when we move on to Thursday, because the moon is getting very activated here. We have the moon conjunct Pluto retrograde, the moon making a trine to Uranus, the moon making that applied trine to the sun in Taurus. And then we also have the moon making a sextile to Neptune and Mars. And remember that Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So again, there's some really nice, at least a little bit of mutual reception here of Mars and Pisces helping out the moon. And so I explained this in take number 2, but it was a really nice download how I was interpreting this of, when you're doing something and you can't explain why or how, but you just have this deep knowing that it's going to work out, or that choosing to go left instead of right on the crossroads is the right decision. And other people around you are doubting you. It's like, how can you be so sure? It's like everyone's saying that we should go right. Why do you want to go left? And you're just so positive in your decision. That's what this feels like to me, where you're doing everything based on your own personal autonomy and power. And maybe you've never done this before with that Pluto retrograde, where you've always placated and wanted to make sure other people are happy, or you've listened to societal conditioning, or you've tried to make your parents happy, but now you're really standing firm in your own power and you know exactly what it is that you want. Again, remember, the moon is making that square to Venus, so we don't want to take other people's opinions into consideration or other people's intensity of like, we need to do this, and you're like, no, I really trust and believe that we need to do that. And if you don't want to join me, that's okay, but this is what I believe to be true. And really using that power exerted from Capricorn here of the long-term goals and what you want to be happy, and using this moon Venus square to your advantage instead of to your detriment. So honoring that, and this could also just be all the intuitive downloads you've been having, or just something on the day that becomes very clear and you just know you have to do it. honor that. Even if it takes you along a detour or just comes up in that moment, this can just be something where, again, we still have this Mars Neptune conjunction in play, and now it's supporting the moon and Pluto, that there can be some really deep, powerful insights coming through that are going to benefit you. And one last time, if we allow other people's projections or what we see on social media distract us or make us feel inferior, then that's probably also going to interfere with these decisions and with these actions that are meant to take place. So all week, I honestly would just recommend going inward, prioritizing joy, happiness, and what you need to be successful over sharing and distracting yourself, because this Mars Neptune energy really can be prone to that, especially now with Mercury in retrograde. There could be many distractions or communications from others, especially past lovers, that are trying to get your energy or attention, which is then just going to delay these imminent actions that are meant to support you in the long run. And we're wrapping up Taurus season, right? When we move to Friday, it's the last day of Taurus season before we move into Gemini season. Now we have the moon in Aquarius making that sextile to Jupiter in Aries. This is really nice. Just intuitively, this feels like a reward. This feels like innovation, new ideas, novel concepts, pioneering, forging your own path. I mean, if we're going from the metaphor like yesterday, where you're choosing to move in a direction that feels right for you, that's cause for celebration. That can even be potentially signing a business deal. We have Mercury also making that sextile to Jupiter, and the moon making that sextile to Jupiter, and the moon making a trine to Mercury retrograde. So maybe you weren't ready to make a certain choice, or you chose to go right, and now you've come back full circle and you're like, now I'm ready to go left. Now I'm ready to enact this. Now I'm ready to speak my truth. So harvesting the fruits of your labor just intuitively feels like this. Go out and have some fun. Enjoy. This is the last day of Taurus season. Taurus is ruled by Venus, Venus in Aries. She wants to have a good time. She wants to do what she wants now. So after all the hard work, all the sacrifice, navigating eclipse season as you already just did, that's cause enough to go out and enjoy. So celebrate, honor that. And even if you don't feel like going out and being around people, just doing something to honor all the hard work that you've done, because it can be very tempting when the moon is in these Saturn ruled signs, and the moon is even co-present Saturn, where it's just work. We also want to honor this Aries energy and the Taurus energy, where we get to enjoy and go after those immediate fun feelings. Okay. Now, Saturday, May 21st, Sun is now in Gemini, and look at this. We have a cazimi. So we have the Sun Mercury retrograde cazimi, where the energy of Mercury is that much more extended, exalted, or shone through. And so Mercury is in its home sign of Gemini, and we have Mercury and the Sun at 0 degrees. This really is an open book, a journal, anything that you want to write. This is now your time to enact this chapter of your life. We also have the moon, Saturn, Sun, Mercury, all in air signs. So this could be a lot of ideas, a lot of correspondence, a lot of communication that's taking place. If potentially you were in the camp that signed a new deal or had new ideas or wanted to burst something in that way, yeah, there's going to be lots to talk about, lots to promote, lots to ground in on. So I want you, if you have all these new ideas or downloads, to actually physically write it down or type it. Or this could also be a nice day too, given the moon is making that sextile to Venus, where you want to connect with a feminine energy, or after you've done a lot of this work, again, balancing it with the rest and celebrating with those select few, extending the celebrations that we had from Friday. But with this cazimi, we're also marking the halfway point of Mercury's retrograde. So just like that, it's moving through very quickly. And again, too, now the Sun and Mercury, we're also still getting that sextile to Jupiter. So lots of expansion. Things can be also moving very quick, where you sign the dotted line, this correspondence happens, you're now boarding a plane in a couple of days. So be prepared for all of these things that there is no set timeline and things can happen very quickly, especially since next week, Mars is going to be in Aries, which is also going to be a vibe. So just be very cautious of what you're thinking and what you're saying. And again, being careful what we're taking on externally so that doesn't affect our thoughts, which affects our words, which affects our actions. And careful what you wish for. If we want all the money and all the love and all the opportunity, that is likely to take place. And the one thing also to note, the moon is making that square to Uranus. So if there is maybe overwhelm or exhaustion or stress, we want to see how we're thinking, how we're communicating to ourselves and to our others. What news are we taking on, right? Mercury with that communication aspect. And is there a better structure, routine, habit, mindset, belief, knowledge that we're taking in that can benefit our emotional state, that can benefit our finance, that can benefit our family? This is where I want you to see, potentially even looking at the house in your chart ruled by Aquarius and Taurus to see maybe where this friction is manifesting from and where maybe the house ruled by Gemini and these new thoughts or ideas can help alleviate some of this tension felt with the moon squaring Uranus, okay? And this can also be someone else's actions or inaction causing you to get emotionally frustrated, or where you feel like your boundaries or structures are not upheld, or if someone's being egotistical and then that Aquarius part of you is feeling very unnerved because they're only thinking about themselves, that you are then going to look to the Gemini part of your chart to get more clarity on how you can navigate this easily or easier, okay? And then when we get to Sunday, this can manifest in a couple ways as well, with the moon conjunct Saturn. A plus of doing this video 3 times now as I've gone through many different scenarios. So number one, with the moon conjunct Saturn, this can be a very productive day when you're getting the laundry, the groceries, meal prep, exercise, week ahead. Everything's all nicely lined up, that all this air energy is just creating synapses and actions and thoughts to go free flowing and very positive in your life. The one thing I do want to warn though is that it can also be a slight ego or perfectionism or trying to get everything done, which can lead to burnout and exhaustion. And we really don't want to be in that place because the moon is going to be in Pisces to start off next week, which already gives a sleepy vibe. So if you need to be productive, let's say next Monday, Tuesday, and you're already exhausted, the moon in Pisces is not going to want to really do a whole lot. It's going to want to take it easy. It's going to want to dream. It's going to want to go for a walk in nature, play with a cat or a dog. So if you're feeling productive, use Sunday to your benefit, but it's not a time to keep piling on responsibility or taking on more and more work, which will lead to imminent exhaustion. Because a good manifestation of the moon in Pisces, especially with Neptune here, is good for ideas and dreams and innovation, intuition to be birthed, if really tapping into that. But if we're exhausted, that intuitive channel is not going to be as free flowing as it could be. Okay. So see how you feel on Sunday. If you need to rest, rest. Don't overcommit. But if you are feeling productive, let's say if you have a lot of dominant air energy in chart, you could probably get a lot done on Sunday. So play it as you will. Okay. Fabulous. So for the Astro question of the week, a lot of times people will say, I'm looking at my chart, but I don't have a house ruled by Gemini. So where should I look? And in other content that I've created and other services, I've discussed that there are many different house systems when looking at a natal chart. So if you go to our friend Google and just type in Astro Seek natal chart, it'll bring up this page here. So just give me 1 second. This is the page that'll come up. So AstroSeek, if you scroll down and you click extended settings, you'll see Placidus, which is always the default setting on websites and apps. So if we click and we find whole sign, then we can choose whatever calculator we want. I looked at a chart that has various different houses in various different sizes to try and maybe dissect the question a bit more. So let's say here that we look and one might say, well, Aries doesn't rule a certain house. It rules a little bit of the second and a little bit of the third. If you use Placidus, then that is the notion, right? So we see that Saturn is in the third house and it falls in Taurus in this certain example. So we would say that Taurus is in, or that Saturn is in Taurus in the third whole sign. Oh, mercy me. We would say that Saturn is in Taurus in the third house. And that in this example, Aries would be ruling over the third and the second house. And we see here that Chiron is in Aries. So Chiron is in Aries, but in the second house, even though Aries technically rules over the third and the second. Again, Placidus in any house system is very valid. However, if we want to use whole sign, then again, we would just click on the settings here, go to whole sign, and we would click redraw. And then when using whole sign, we see that each house in the chart has a zodiac sign that rules over it. And it's very easy to discern and determine that. So I trust that that helps to clarify things. And there are still astrologers that will use many different house systems. I just personally have found in my practice that whole sign is the best when looking at natal charts. And even when I'm doing different timing techniques like annual perfections or solar return charts, I find that whole sign houses are what is often taught and the best practice to use in my professional opinion. So if you're ever stumped or confused, or when I'm referring to certain things in these videos, when I say check the whole sign house or check the house ruled by Gemini, for example, when we have that Sun, Mercury, Cazimi, then you can just tweak the settings and then it'll present your chart in a different way. It is funny though that sometimes people will choose a different house system based on what is better for them or what gives a more favorable outlook for certain planets being in certain houses, which I think is always kind of funny, but each their own. Okay. So let me know if you have any questions on anything discussed, and report if any phenomenal breakthroughs or miracle moments have manifested during the lunar eclipse or shortly after, with that moon in Sagittarius making really nice aspects to both Jupiter and Venus in Aries. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of Taurus season. Have a phenomenal week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hopefully this worked.